We weren't supposed to be there. The city shut down the Aldridge subway line 15 years ago. Budget cuts, or maybe something worse. I didn't care either way. But Casey, she lives for this kind of urban legend garbage. Some post online mentioned people still hearing trains under Aldridge Street around 2 in the morning, and that was all it took. So at 1:43 in the morning, we were squeezing through a broken fence with bolt cutters and bad decisions. It smelled like rust, mold, and something sweet. I don't know. The kind of smell that makes your brain go, that doesn't belong here. The tiles were cracked, signs half-eaten by time, and there were water stains on the ceiling that looked suspiciously like faces if you stared too long. Jules was already over it. "This is dumb," she muttered, brushing cobwebs off her jacket. "If I get tetanus, I'm suing both of you." Casey grinned like that was a compliment. The platform was dead silent. There was no wind, no dripping pipes, nothing. Just stale air and the kind of quiet that feels too thick. Then, the lights came on. Just down the tunnel, a soft hum started. It was steady, mechanical, and growing louder. A train rolled in. It was sleek and spotless. Not a scratch on it. The windows were dark, but the metal gleamed like it had been polished an hour ago. No conductor. No lights on inside. But the doors hissed open smooth, like butter. We didn't move. Casey was the first to speak, her voice low. "This is the part where normal people run right." She stepped forward anyway. We followed, of course, because we're idiots. Inside, the train was too clean. The kind of clean that doesn't happen naturally. No ads, no graffiti, not even a smudge. Just 5 seats, 3 facing 2, and 1 flickering light overhead. I stepped inside, and the second my foot hit the floor, I saw it. Etched into the metal near the door in small, blocky letters. "All seats must be filled before departure." Casey laughed, creepy subway Sudoku. Jules didn't laugh. We sat down, the 3 of us, and we waited. The doors stayed open. The lights buzzed. And then, 2 more people boarded from the opposite platform. Silently, I couldn't see their faces. Hooded jackets, heads down. They didn't look at us. Just sat across from us, one in front of me, one in front of Casey. The doors slid shut, and the train started moving. At first, the train just moved. No sound except the soft rumble beneath us. No announcements. No stops. Just that flickering light overhead and the 5 of us, 3 I knew, and 2 I tried not to look at too hard. They still hadn't said a word. Casey nudged me and whispered, "Bet they're ghosts." I rolled my eyes. Ghosts don't ride trains. She smirked. Maybe they do if they missed the last one. Then the intercom clicked on. It made that sharp pop sound, like a mic being unmuted. And then a low hum crackled through the cabin. Static, then a voice. "Jules." That's all it said, just her name. We all turned to look at her. She looked back, frozen mid-blink. "That's not funny," she said, eyes darting around the ceiling like she could see the speakers. "It wasn't me," I said, holding up both hands. Casey looked like she was trying not to laugh. "Okay, but if this thing says my name, I'm jumping off." The voice came back. "Jules." Each time it repeated, it got heavier. Not louder, just thicker, like the word was dragging something behind it. Jules stood up. "This is stupid." She looked straight at one of the shadowy passengers across from us, the one sitting directly across from her. "Is this a prank?" That's when her nose started bleeding. Just a slow drip at first, then faster. Her eyes widened. She touched her upper lip and stared at the red on her fingers like it didn't belong to her. Then she sat down, hard. Casey reached for her, but Jules just waved her off. "I'm fine," she mumbled. "Just got lightheaded." I looked down. There was something new etched into the metal near our feet. "Do not answer if the intercom says your name." I hadn't seen it before. I know I hadn't. Casey read it too, her voice suddenly flat. "Cool, great rules now." Jules pinched her nose and leaned back in her seat. "Screw this train." The intercom stayed quiet after that. But the lights outside the train car started to change. Instead of the usual tunnel blur, it looked like we were passing through different stations. But they were all wrong. Empty off, signs written in gibberish. One had a mirror instead of a platform, and I swear I saw myself staring back. Except I wasn't blinking. We didn't talk for a while after that. Jules had her head back, trying to breathe through her mouth to stop the blood. Casey was quiet for once, chewing the inside of her cheek like she was trying not to say something reckless. I kept my eyes on the door at the far end of the car. The two strangers were still sitting across from us, silent, unmoving. But something about them didn't feel right anymore. Like they weren't passengers. They were part of the train. I started counting the seconds between light flickers. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, buzz. The lights outside the windows kept flashing through colors, green, red, then a long stretch of pitch black. Then, just for a second, I saw something. A figure way down at the other end of the train. Past the next door, barely visible. They were standing in the connecting car, still blurry, like they were too far to make out. But they looked familiar. Same height, same build, same jacket. "Casey," I whispered. She looked at me, then followed my gaze toward the far window. "What the hell?" The figure didn't move, didn't wave, just stood there, half obscured in flickering light, like an out-of-focus photo that hadn't finished loading. Casey stood up. "Don't," I said quickly. "What if someone else is on here?" "You're right here," I said, louder than I meant to. "You're sitting right next to me." The figure at the end of the train tilted its head, just a little. Casey sat back down. We stared. The lights flickered again, and the figure was gone. Just vanished, like it had blinked out with the light. We didn't say anything. There wasn't much to say. Then I looked down again. Another line had appeared, scratched into the metal next to my shoe. "If you see someone familiar in the distance, it's not them." This time, none of us laughed. The train jerked once hard, then stopped. No warning, no announcement. Just a mechanical groan, like the whole thing had to clear its throat, then silence. We looked at each other. "Why'd it stop?" Jules asked. "Maybe it's a scheduled delay," Casey offered, in the least convincing voice ever. I stood up and looked out the nearest window. Nothing. Not darkness, just nothing. Like someone had painted the outside world matte black. Even when the lights flickered inside, they didn't reflect off the glass. It was just gone. Then the overhead lights clicked off. Just like that, pitch black. Couldn't see my hands, couldn't see my friends. Casey whispered, "Harley." I whispered back, "Here." Jules said nothing. Then the lights snapped on again. Jules was still in her seat, eyes wide open, breathing hard. The kind of breathing you do when you're trying not to scream. "Did anyone else hear footsteps?" she asked. Casey and I both shook our heads. "They were walking up the aisle," she whispered. "Behind me. I thought it was one of you." We all turned slowly and saw nothing but the empty aisle and the sealed door behind us. That's when we noticed the new message on the wall, scratched into the paneling just above the window. The train only moves if no one is watching. I turned around just in time to see the blurry reflection of us in the window. Except there was someone else, a sixth shape, standing directly behind Jules. I blinked and it was gone. "Let's just close our eyes," Casey said. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't think of anything better. So we sat there, all three of us, sitting in silence in a spotless train with strangers who didn't move, keeping our eyes shut while the world broke around us. The train lurched again. It was moving. I didn't open my eyes. Not right away. Eventually, the train slowed again. No screeching. No stops. Just this subtle pressure shift, like gravity forgot what it was doing. Then a ding like an elevator, and the doors to the next car opened on their own. That's when we smelled it. Something warm, buttery, and sweet. It didn't match the train at all, didn't match anything. It smelled like carnival popcorn, or maybe pancakes. The kind of smell that makes your stomach growl even if you're not hungry. A little cart rolled in. It was old-fashioned, all chrome and glass, like something from the 50s. No one was pushing it. No sound. Just wheels gliding across the floor like it belonged there. It stopped in front of us. Inside the cart were neat little snacks on silver trays. A sandwich with the crusts cut off. A tiny pie. Something that looked like Jell-O but shimmered like oil. No labels, no prices, just offerings. Jules leaned forward. "Don't," I said, before I even knew why. But her hand was already hovering over the cart. "It's probably just plastic," she muttered, "like display food." She picked up the sandwich. It looked normal enough. She took a bite before we could stop her. Chewed and swallowed. Then blinked. "That's actually really good," she said. "Tastes like grilled cheese." Casey narrowed her eyes. "You don't even like grilled cheese." "No, Jules stopped. Then looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Slowly, she reached up and touched her face. Her skin went pale, like she didn't recognize what she was feeling. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at me, eyes wide, and Dee said, "Did we already do this part?" "What part?" "This," she said. "This moment. I feel like we already did it. I said that thing you asked if I'm okay." Casey looked at me like that. "We've done this." She looked terrified now, like she'd seen the next 5 minutes play out, and didn't like how they ended. Casey stood up and shoved the cart. It rolled out of the car and vanished into the next cabin. That's when we saw the new rule, scrawled in greasy fingerprints on the inside of the window. "Do not eat the food cart items." The train kept moving, but it was changing. The lights outside the windows stopped showing tunnels. Now it looked like we were gliding through empty rooms, like the train was cutting through abandoned office spaces, gymnasiums, a forest at one point. One of the cars we passed had no floor, just sky. And then, with a gentle hiss, the doors opened. No one said a word, but we all heard it, a soft ding like an invitation. The platform wasn't a station this time. It looked more like a waiting room. Flickering fluorescents, beige walls, no furniture except a single vending machine humming in the corner. The door stood open like the train expected one of us to go. Of course, Casey, sorry, still feels like Dante energy, stood up. "I just wanna see," she said. "I'll be right back." "Casey," I warned, "this feels like a trap." She grinned, "So does adulthood, and yet." She stepped off the train. The doors stayed open. We waited 30 seconds, a minute too. "She said she'd be right back," Jules muttered. Then we heard footsteps. Casey came back slowly. And she wasn't alone. Another figure followed just behind her. Same height, same boots, same everything except the second one kept its head down, face hidden by hair. Jules stood up. "Is this a joke?" "It's fine," Casey said quickly. "It's fine, I found a mirror. It just followed me. It's not real." "Then why is it breathing?" We all backed up into our seats as the double, stepped aboard and sat beside Casey, perfectly still. The doors hissed shut, and the train kept moving. I looked down. On the floor, in red block letters that hadn't been there a second ago, "If you leave the train, you must come back with more than you left with." We rode in silence after that. Even Casey didn't have anything smart to say. She just sat there, staring at her double like it might dissolve if she blinked hard enough. It didn't. Jules kept glancing between us, one hand gripping the edge of her seat so tightly her knuckles turned white. "This doesn't feel like a ride anymore," she whispered. It didn't. It felt like we were being carried toward something final. And whatever it was, we couldn't stop it. The train didn't slow down. The outside world kept shifting, a graveyard, an abandoned theme park, a hallway made entirely of mirrors. That's when the lights flickered and the intercom crackled back on. A voice came through, calm, flat, like an elevator announcement. But this time, only I heard it. "To exit," it said, "only one may leave, and they must choose." I didn't tell the others. Not right away. The train slowed. Not at a station, just a concrete hallway lit by flickering lights. The doors opened. Casey looked at me. "What is this?" "I don't know," I lied. Jules stood up, but the second her foot touched the floor, a loud chime echoed through the car, sharp and mechanical, like a wrong answer buzzer. She froze. Then another line appeared, not scratched or etched this time, but glowing along the train wall in pulsing red letters. "To exit, only one may leave, and they must choose." Jules turned to me. "What does that mean?" The train didn't answer, but I already knew. The others started arguing. What if we all leave at once? What if it's a riddle? What if we wait? But I wasn't listening. I was watching the double. It had never moved, never spoken. But as soon as the others turned their backs, it looked right at me and smiled. I stood up. "I'll do it," I said. "I'll choose." The train hummed in approval. Jules grabbed my arm. "Wait, what if it's a trick? What if choosing means killing one of us?" "I know," I said, and I walked toward the door.